up for Vicki. Thank you so much. What a fun intro was getting the energy up in the room right before we talk about joy. I love that. Thank you so much. I have loved all the threads that are pulling together throughout this day, and I think you'll see more of them as I share a little bit of my Unshakable Joy story and the journeys with you. I am a speaker and a coach, leadership coach. I'm also an author. This is my book. I have several here I would love to just gift out, and this is really where my foundation began many, many years ago with my dad. And my dad, at the age of 45, had a heart transplant. So another tie that brought us all together. I was 16 years old. So not only did the trajectory of his life and our family's life completely shift, so did my lens and how I looked at life. As I watched him navigate his journey of change and choosing joy and choosing positivity and choosing his faith every single day, it really shaped how I lead, how I live, and how I show up in life. So I'm excited to share a little bit more about Unshakable Joy. Dad was always a huge believer in the power of our mind and the power of our thoughts. And what you think about, you bring about. We've probably heard that before. How many of you remember, I'm going to take you back, the thoughts on the first day of the job? Anybody have the first day of the job experience? Yeah, you're excited. You're going in, you're like, I got this. This is my new job. I'm ready. You're nervous. You're thinking, do I really know what I'm doing? Do they really think I know what I'm doing? And then somewhere along the way, something pops in, like some chatter. Ever had that brain chatter that pops in and it's like, yeah, are you sure you're ready? Is that what you're going to wear? Okay, we're doing this. Well, I remember one of my first day on the jobs very vividly. And it wasn't when I started my corporate career. It was actually when I started my first business, when my kids were little. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I really wanted to contribute to our family income. So I decided to start a home-based business in direct sales. And part of that meant designing and then delivering in-home presentations. Well, that's totally my jam. So I bought their starter kit, I learned about the business, and I prepared myself to get ready. I had my presentation down, my product display. They would have put the best Macy's window to shame. I had my call to action. I knew my pitch. I knew my products by page number, sizing, shape, price point, color. I mean, girl, I was ready. So, for moral support, my sister comes with me to my first presentation. And it is a room full of people, standing room only. And so I began. Products proudly displayed behind me. I was really excited to share how these products were going to organize and decorate your home. And so I began talking. And I'm talking, and I'm talking, and I'm talking, and I'm talking, and then I realize I have not taken a breath. I was talking so fast. My nerves had kicked into overdrive, and that chatter in my brain was just yelling at me. Okay, don't lock your knees. We're gonna pass out now, and this is terrific. You're messing up your first gig. About that time, I make eye contact with my sister, who's at the back of the room, and she's doing this. I'm looking at her, and I can read her lips, and she's saying, breathe, breathe. Looking at her, I'm thinking, I don't know how. I kid you not, in that moment, I swear I had forgotten how to breathe. But thankfully, and not so gracefully, my body knew what to do in that moment, and it took over. So there I am, in a room full of people, middle of my presentation. I literally had to stop. I had to lean forward, and just taking this huge gasp of air, just let it go. I had to pause. I had to breathe before I could begin again. And I'm going to need a drink of water. Speaking of which, apologies.
She's got it.
Wow, has life ever done that to you? Yeah. Here we are. I would say that moment has presented itself. Wow. Now I'm going to do my presentation in this Mickey Mouse voice. As leaders, we are flexible. Okay. I am a Reiki master as well, so maybe I just need to do some energy shit on this and get rid of it. Is that in my way? All right, let's do this. Yes, here we go. Wow. Yeah, life just has a way of doing that. We think we've got it controlled. We think we have it figured out, and then somewhere along the way, boom, right? Everything else takes over. But what I've learned in this moment, I just can pause, take a breath, reset myself, and then begin again. Because what I absolutely know is that those stories we tell ourselves creates our energy. And that energy then determines how we show up and what we do next. So when we can learn to notice those stories and then rewrite them, maybe frame them in a way that's more positive. Maybe it's a story about choosing courage in the moment. Maybe it's a story about, okay, your squeaky voice is not messing this up. You can keep on moving and sharing the message. It's just got to keep moving forward. And for me, that's where joy shows up, is in those moments where we learn to trust ourselves, where we learn to stand in that power pose that she taught us, take a breath, where we can just pause, right, breathe, and then begin again. This was a story that circled in my brain for a really, really long time. Someday, I'm going to go after my dreams. Someday I'm going to write that book. Someday I'll have more joy. Maybe after that next job promotion. You know, maybe after the kids are older and I have more time. There's got to be more joy in that space. And maybe after our bank account's a little bit more stable, we'll have more joy. Surely there's more joy. We tend to look for joy in these events and places like it's a destination, like we're going to put it into our phone. Beep, bop, boop, boop, take me to joy. And then we arrive there and we're like, woohoo, I'm a joy. What I've learned is that joy is a daily practice. It's that noticing. It's the finding the small gifts along the way. And for me, that's what I call unshakable joy. It's not because life doesn't shake us. It's learning how to steady ourselves from the inside out, planting our feet down, taking a deep breath, and then beginning again. Oh, okay, how many of you remember this game? This is what I like to refer to as the 80s version of anxiety in a box. And you're laughing because you know. Okay, good. This is great. Yes. I mean, just seeing this image, I'm like, okay, heart rate's already going up. I mean, can you still hear it? Click goes the blue tray. You wind up the timer. Tick, tick, tick goes the timer. She remembers. The whole time your hands are flying. Star, star, circle, triangle. Where's it go? Where's it go? Moon, moon, moon. And then pop. And the pieces go flying. Oh my goodness. Talk about the pressure on my young self-esteem, right? The pressure to get it right, the pressure to be perfect. So much anxiety. So when I became a mother, well, naturally I bought it. So there we are, around the kitchen table. And I'm thinking, ooh, are they gonna get it? Can they beat the timer? Click goes the blue tray. Wind up the timer. And they're off. Their hands are flying and they're putting the pieces in and they're laughing and pop goes the timer. And you know what? They got every piece in place. First round, they got every piece in place. And they're laughing and they're giggling and they're like, let's do it again. And I'm like, do it again? I have not even recovered from round one. But all right, let's do it again. Click goes the blue tray, wind up the timer, tick, 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 and they're off. Pop goes the timer and the pieces this time go flying all over the kitchen table. And you know what they do? They laughed even harder.
Oh my God.
I mean, they were celebrating how far these pieces flew across the kitchen table. And I'm thinking, what is happening here? Clearly, the game has not changed. It's the same blue tray, click, pieces are there, they fly, there's the timer, there's the pressure's there, hasn't changed, but yet, different experiences. Why? Then I think to myself, it's because they were there to play a game. They were enjoying our time together, simply being in the moment. And how often in life do we do the opposite? When we put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect, to get it right, to keep all of our pieces in place. What if when life shows up like it can, at the beginning of your speech, what if instead of tightening up, we choose to lighten up? And what else? What if instead of pressure, we chose to be present? Because we know life's going to change. That's the name of this game. It's a journey. Sometimes it changes unexpectedly, sometimes all at once. And yes, there have been times when it felt like my pieces were flying all over my kitchen table. But the beauty of it is, for unshakable joy in our lives, is that unshakable joy is not about those experiences being perfect. It's how we choose to show up when we're not. And that's that leading from the inside out, choosing me first and how I want to show up every single day. How you practice is how you play the game. You heard that one before? Yes, we've all heard that one. I love that saying. Our mindsets, our energy, our attitude, they're like the muscles in our body. They need practice. They need room to grow. And the more we practice showing up the way we truly choose to be, the stronger that muscle gets. You know, one of my favorite quotes is Albert Einstein. He says, energy is everything, and that's all there is to it. And I love that. Your energy walks through the door way before you ever do. So what are you bringing? And every day are you checking in with yourself saying, how do I choose to show up? What is the energy, attitude, and mindset I want to bring to the situation? We may not have a control over a lot of things in our life. That's absolutely one thing we have 100% control over, is how we show up. And the good news is, you can shift it. You can shift your energy. You can shift your mindset. It's all about the practice. So here are some practices I do on a daily basis, in addition to my breathing, in addition to my power stance. Here's the first one of my favorites, gratitude. This is the fastest shift for energy you could choose. Find something to be grateful for in the moment, at the start of the day. Choose the tone and set it for yourself and how you show up. It's express elevator to joy. And then, when the negativity pops in, because it's going to, right? We're human. Negativity is going to pop in. Life gets messy. So see if in that moment you can flip it. Flip the story just a little bit. Maybe it's your own story that's happening, or how you want to step into the next moment. Flip it to a positive. Because wherever negative shows up, guess what else is available? Positive. You just get to choose it. And then when that hard does show up, the challenges, the hard times, the adversities, the really uncomfortable situations, we're not going to avoid them. We're not going to say, oh, everything's fine, I'm fine, it's fine, don't worry about me, I'm fine. Nope. What are we going to do? We're going to pause. We're going to breathe, and we're going to lean into it with passion or compassion and with courage for ourselves and for the situation. And this last one, it's one of my favorites. It says, catch them doing things right. I mean, when was the last time you caught the people in your lives doing things right? We don't have to look very far to find negativity in this world. So catch the people at home, your family, your kids, people at work, on your teams. And you know what? Yes, even yourself. Catch yourself doing things right. I mean, when was the last time you cooked a dinner and you said, oh my gosh, that was awesome, Vicki, way to go! Yes, it was the best tuna casserole I've ever made. I don't like tuna casserole, I don't know why that came to me, but you know. Yeah, so catch yourself doing things right. So here's where the practice comes in. Here's your homework. So the rest of the day, as you're going about your business, if you catch a glimpse of yourself, maybe it's in the mirror in the hallway, maybe it's a reflection in the the windows. Maybe you're in your rear mirror of your car. I just want you to pause, take a look at yourself, give yourself a good look, and then say, dang, you look awesome. All right? And then just keep on moving. That's what we're going to do. That's your homework. That is your homework. All right, so as I mentioned, my home-based business, it was a great part of our young family's life for a very long time. And I assumed I would be doing it for many, many years. I loved who I was becoming. I loved the flexibility and the freedom. Yeah, that's me, circa the shag look in the early 2000s. Yeah. And, you know, if you're an entrepreneur, which I believe most of us in this room are entrepreneurs, that's why we're here, we know there are seasons, there are changes. And for me, it wasn't like one big failure that happened. It was a little bit more subtle. Sales were slowing, appointments were canceling, my self-doubt was getting louder. And the more I focused on what wasn't working, guess what? Yeah, the louder it became. And the more louder it became. I remember one evening sitting on the floor of my home office, looking at all the leadership books, the self-help books, the build your business books, thinking to myself, how did I get here? I mean, I know the tools. And in fact, I've been training my team on leadership skills and mindset. And yet there I sat, doubting everything. I thought, how did I get here? And I remember having coffee with my dad on a Sunday morning. And he asks me, what do you want? And why are you so focused on the negative? Ugh, this is not what I wanted to hear. It actually quite hurt. He reminded me of who I was, right? And all the good and the gifts I had in my life at that time. And he says, you're not a bank account. You're not your job title. And you're not your business. You're who you choose to be every single day. So who do you choose? While it wasn't easy for me to hear, it was exactly what I needed to hear, to start shifting my attitude, start shifting my energy and my focus. So every day I got myself up, dusted myself off and started going again. I started focusing on what I did want to create for myself and for our family. And my attitude got better, my energy came back, and my path opened in a whole new direction. And that's when I stepped into my corporate career. So for the last 2.5 decades, I've loved being in that corporate space. And I was about 8 years in when a major program was ending. And with it, jobs were being eliminated. Now, if you've ever been laid off or been through a downsizing of a business, you know the fear and anxiety that fills the room. So I knew I had a choice of how I showed up every single day. So I made a choice to show up with compassion and as much positivity as I could bring. Not to change the situation, but hopefully to change how we navigated through it together. And I'll never forget the day that I packed my box and I walked myself out of that door. And I was reminded that what you focus on expands. You focus on fear, fear grows. When I focus on possibilities, possibilities show up. They may not always look the same, but they always show up. And for me, that's where unshakable joy lives as well. It just doesn't disappear when we stop choosing it, right? Or when life changes, it disappears when we stop choosing it. So what are you choosing on a daily basis? Unshakable joy for me is more than just an emotion on the emotional scale. It truly is a strategy. It's a way of living. It's a way of leading. It's a way of showing up moment by moment, choice by choice. So when you think about, like, what else is possible when you choose joy? Everything. Yes, so I'd love to connect. That little QR code goes to a fun little, tips to create more joy in your life guide. Find me on LinkedIn. I have my books here. Would absolutely be honored to share with all of you. Thank you.